Welcome back to Tech Smarter. This is the show where we talk. Uh, Faith, let's pause that and get that beginning right, okay? Sorry, we had the, yeah, thank you. Let's do this again. Welcome back to Tech Smarter. This is the show where we talk with operators, innovators, and investors who are shaping the future of aging services. Before we dive into today's playbook, I want to give a huge thank you to our incredible sponsor, Leading Age Arizona. They're the dedicated voice for nonprofit aging services in the state, and they're fighting to ensure quality care and aging services for everyone. Thank you, Leading Age Arizona, for helping us bring this essential conversation to life. Now, Tech Smarter is a production of the Smarter service. And if you are a senior living operator struggling to provide consistent tech support for your residents, reach out to us. We are here to help you, and that's exactly where we come in. Now, if you're ready to offload that tech burden and finally deliver the promise of AgeTech, just DM me and I'll send you all the details you need. All right, let's get back to the episode. My guest today is Kian. He is the founder and CEO of Independa, and he has a powerful message that challenges the entire industry. It's really the difference between just using tech for sick care versus building a system centered on wellness and the consumer. Welcome back, Kian. I am thrilled to have you here.
It's great to be with you, Abbie. It's a pleasure.
Thank you. For those of us who are not familiar and might be joining us for the first time, could you please tell us about yourself, how you got into this industry, and what Independa does?
You bet. It's been a while now, been a minute. April of next year will be 17 years. Independa was founded in 2009 to really answer the question of how come the brand for technology for older adults is still, I've fallen and I can't get up. And there's a huge opportunity. And I engaged a design firm, IDEO.com. It's probably the best design company in the country, maybe in the world, to answer that question. And they came back with two major answers and what was missing. And that became really the foundation of Independa, down to the wireframes that we designed together. One was we really aren't engaging older adults in a holistic way. So there's a lot of silos of technology and billable codes and medical versus health and so forth. And then the second one is the simplicity of it all. So how do you make it so there's a term I'm sure many of our listeners have heard, designing with instead of for. So how do you make it so everything is familiar and comfortable and simple to use? And those two have been the guiding design as well as really mission and vision statements for us since then.
And for anyone who's not familiar with Independa, could you please explain what Independa does and how it reaches people?
You bet. So we have a wide spectrum of offerings from the hospital to the home and everything in between. That includes home health and home care services, as well as definitely on the senior living side. And on the hospital, we have a patient education system that we white label and private label to partners for hospital beds. As it relates to senior living, we have a remote engagement, education, and care platform that definitely helps the resident engage and have sort of the world brought in for them and to them. It helps the staff and operations reach bottom line benefits, so efficiencies and operational benefits. And really from a new construction standpoint, we help the top line through better branding of this holistic platform that you can engage with your family. The first day you move in, no knowledge of new technologies. We have LG and Sony TVs that were embedded inside, also Dish as a partner. So if you have Dish service or you want to switch service, that could be embedded inside there, or any computer or tablet or even a mobile phone. And then you have mobile phones for staff and friends and family that can connect with the residents. So it's a comprehensive solution that goes across multiple engagement points, namely social engagement, operational engagement, clinical engagement. So basically health and IoT devices with thresholds and alerts, as well as services engagement. So you have access to a bunch of services on our platform.
Can you tell?
But we do a lot.
Yes, yes, you do. How did you get into this? What was the origin for Independa?
My parents were taking care of my grandmother at the time, my grandfather prior to that. And, as a tech person, I was looking for the next big thing to do. And in the meantime, I was seeing that there's really no tool for my parents to use who are not, supercomputer users, but they could use any kind of platform. And my grandma certainly was not going to be able to use the normal sort of login and password changes and virus scans and software updates and all that. So the vision was what is available for my parents to use for my grandmother that they can take care of her better and allow her to stay at her residence longer, safer, and more comfortably. And that's how Independa came about.
Wonderful. I love that. So many people who are in the aging services industry have had a personal connection with the development of innovation. And I just love to hear that. You've truly pioneered this concept of consumerization of healthcare versus the medicalization of the consumer. And this is a critical distinction that often gets lost with a rush to market. Can you explain this difference for our audience and tell us how organizations can practically move their strategy away from a sick care treatment focused approach toward the consumerization and proactive approach of wellness?
You bet. And I appreciate you asking that question. It's really a presentation that I give, and it takes a long time to go over all the details. But in summary, the big difference between the medicalization of the consumer versus the consumerization of healthcare is all about payment. And so I would not be able to sit here and tell anyone to go from one to the other unless the payment systems change. So it's really difficult if you're getting paid by the episode, and that's where your business plan is, and that's where your revenues are, and that's how you pay your staff and all that, to suddenly give up those payments episodically to help people stay away from the system. So that's a challenge that we have to recognize. We have to get more towards what's called either capitated or managed care, or ACOs, or hospital readmission penalties, or population health. All of these, Medicare, Medicare Advantage, are all capitated systems that really are about keeping the individual away from the system. So there's benefit to the person and the system when they stay away. Now, as it turns out, we all as individuals don't want to go to the next episode and next stage of care. So when you switch that and think of it not from the business standpoint, but from the individual, okay, how do I help someone stay where they are at their current residence longer, safer, more comfortably? Then the ROI starts making sense in senior living, because you want to keep that resident there. You don't want to have them escalate either out of their room or out of your building because of episodes of care. So that's where the alignment happens, is to think about all the things that are important to us to stay where we are for as long as possible.
If you look at this in terms of the service that we provided, the Smarter service, it's kind of similar in that we want a resident to be able to receive tech support in their home, in their community, as opposed to sending them out to receive it elsewhere. So it's part of a service that's taking place within the community. And one thing that I absolutely love about Independa is that it focuses on leveraging the most familiar real estate in the home, which is the TV, for engagement and care. So this is a brilliant strategic choice because it removes that intimidation factor of adding in and learning a new device. When you look at successful tech rollouts, what's the single biggest lesson that you've learned about designing a tech interface that truly promotes confidence and adoption among older adults?
Yeah, I think it's important to go over that detail. Like anything else, if we think about it in terms of people, process, and technology, your question is really focused on the technology, which is where we come in. And the simplification of installation, implementation, usage, familiarity, all of that. Not having to buy any new devices is a huge deal. Not having to learn anything new is a huge deal. Really holistically thinking about all the constituents and having benefits for each one, namely sort of the informal circle of care outside of the residents, the resident themselves, of course, at the center of it, and then the staff and operations to allow for everyone to do more with less, which is what is needed in any kind of solution. So all that is on the tech side, but then we get into process and we get into people, and we all know the people challenges we have in our industry. So when you have a churn rate of 100% in an industry, which is unheard of to me, I've never seen an industry have a churn of 100%. Then it becomes really challenging to say, we're going to train even as little as possible the staff to then be able to leverage a platform. That's where you guys come in, where we can outsource that and say, you know what, your staff can do exactly what they're doing. They just get the benefit. And so that's, I think, a key point is, how do we have staff really not have to do hardly anything if you can outsource the people portion of it as well? So that's key. And then last but not least is the process. So the process has to do with really everyone having buy-in, having an innovation mindset, even if it's not a mindset, if you want to kind of get into it, having an acceptance of innovation and having some time that people can have, whether it's by money, by getting you in, or more time for staff so that they can actually enjoy and benefit from the implementation. So all of that combined leads to the successful rollout. And I think if you're missing much of any one of those, if it's bad tech or if it's old tech or if it's, by the way, I mentioned old tech because we redid all of our code last few years. So last year we released our entire code base. Every single line is brand new with the latest technologies, having learned everything that we had through the years. But it's important to also keep that in mind over time. If that's missing or the people are missing, they don't engage you or they don't have the right staff. And then finally, if the process doesn't accommodate, I think that's a challenge.
Yes, it's a huge challenge, especially if you look at it in basics. The problem of having multiple remotes for a TV, for instance, it's something that most people may not be concerned with, but for an older adult, it just adds a huge element of confusion into it. I know with Independa, in order to log in, there is no password, right? Like anyone can log in and use it. Even just not having a QR code is a way for someone to adopt technology even faster and easier. And it's really significant that you have prioritized the simplicity of the user experience right from the very beginning.
Yeah, simplicity is extremely tough to do. As Steve Jobs put it, it's expensive, it's time consuming, there's no finish line, and you really have to dedicate mind share internally, treasure internally to be able to constantly find things that you can improve. Yeah, that's absolutely a great point. And again, the simplicity of not having to buy something new or learn something, that's huge.
Let's move into another facet of an older adult, and that is social isolation. It's arguably one of the greatest health challenges facing older adults today, and technology holds immense power and responsibility in addressing it. From your perspective, what are the most powerful and ethical ways technology can be used to foster a genuine social connection and combat loneliness?
Yeah, that's a key question, and it's a core benefit, I think, for any kind of resident engagement solution. In a senior living environment, it's a little bit more nuanced because part of the promise of an operator and part of the promise of that environment is social engagement is actually with real people. And you go out and you have friends and you dine with folks and you have trips and you have activities that you participate in, and that's all fantastic. So part of the social engagement of the right platform is to make that calendar, the community calendar, readily available so you can actually do a search on it. You can add things to your own calendar based on that. You can get reminded if you're not in front of your TV or logged into your tablet or computer or phone. You get a text, et cetera. So all that is, engaging you with the activities that are happening around you and making those more accessible and easier to connect with. When you get to the general consumer in their home, social engagement could really mean the difference between bringing the world in or not having the world in at all. Sadly, there's so many folks that don't have human contact hardly at all. And so what if we can make it easier for them to have engagement with the world in ways that are simple and easy and cost effective, and then people can tie in, either friends or family, or if they're even shy on that, exercises, video content, educational videos, your videos, all that just brings the world in. So I think all of that, there's something called the SDOH, social determinants of health. It's clinically proven that if we have isolation, leads to loneliness, that leads to self-neglect, potentially depression, medication neglect, and then recidivism into the system again, and lots of costs and anguish. So these are all clinically proven to be extremely both challenging if you have it, and also really valuable if you can put a dent in that issue.
Yeah, we are actively engaged in helping older adults use technology for connection, to stay connected to family and friends. We found over and over that when there's a will, there's a way. And someone older can definitely learn to use technology when they know it's going to connect them to the things they love the most. Another area that I want to talk about is AI. We hear AI this, AI that, but in a practical senior living context, the application of AI has to be grounded in real world benefits, not hype, as well as in data. So, in your opinion, where is AI currently making the most meaningful difference in senior living operations or resident wellness?
I can tell you a little bit about how we approach AI and then also generalize it. On our side, we use AI for really everything at this point, including having an AI companion. So it was a great question after the social engagement. So even if the daughter or son is too busy during work hours to call, you can chat with your AI companion. And we do that securely, so your information stays as yours, et cetera. And so we have some guardrails in it. Additionally, you can have AI really ask you questions. So while you're engaged, there could be health-related questions that are asked. So you start tracking that data. You could do it certainly through surveys in our platform, as well as pop-up surveys as well. Things like, how did you sleep last night? What's your pain level right now? How do you feel right now? What's your stress level? And also specific questions to the individual. So if somebody is in a particular category, let's say for COPD or CHF, or whatever the issue is for that person, you can have very specific questions automatically be presented over time. Now AI comes in and sees the patterns. And so rather than just reporting, which is very important, and just looking at trends, AI can actually proactively tell you that there's a trend going on. You apply that to the games that are in our system. So you can have, brain activity games, fun games, dexterity games, all of these that help folks. But then now you can look at their scores over time and see, wow, there's suddenly a drop in the Wordle score, let's say, or suddenly a drop in the memory match game. What's going on? And raise that question. So there's things that happen for the resident, but also I think overall, in a few years, we won't be talking about AI any more than we're talking about, let's say, voice like Alexa. It's part of everything now. We're used to it. We just click on Siri or Alexa or Google, and it's there. And I think that'll be a part of everything that we do, whether it's writing a Word document or running automatically. Like just recently, I used AI to run a report from an Excel spreadsheet that I had to go create myself before. I just told it what I wanted, and here it is. So I think related to senior living, it's going to be no different than in general, which is using it everywhere we can to bring all the things that we talked about, make that more effective, more efficient.
And when we're talking about meaningful resident engagement in the context of AI and AgeTech, what metrics or data should communities use to prove that their technology is truly enriching lives and not just passively informing them?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, anytime you want to implement anything, or if you've implemented it, it's not too late to come back and say, how do we define success? That's what you're asking. What is success? And so there's success across engagement. So, how often is the person engaged with the system as a whole? Specific areas like video calls. How many video calls are they receiving from friends and family? How often is the staff connecting with them? Interactive content in general. How are they participating? Are they getting pictures? Are they getting video chat, video content? Are they getting audio messages from either staff or? So that's one thing around social engagement. Then well-being indicators. So you want to establish, how if I can easily ask a few questions, like I said earlier, how how are we looking at that? Are we trending more positive? And I'll just say, I'll take a step back and say, it's so much easier if we do all these by having a control group. So, have 10 people, 20 people out of the whole not implement right up front, and then compare the data and keep tweaking all these things that I'm talking about. Family engagement. How many folks have people on the family side connecting with them? So in our case, for instance, we have gamification. So we actually gamify the family to connect with the resident and make that experience. So you kind of shame the family member if they're not on that list, that they haven't done anything with grandma. And then community integration. How often are they finding things to do in the community calendar? How often are they showing up when they find things to do? So these are all metrics. And finally, I think just operationally, even through surveys, just asking the staff, is your life easier or harder because the system is in place? Are we avoiding phone calls, let's say over the weekend, where somebody's calling and saying, tell me how mom is doing, versus now they could just look on the mobile app, see how mom is doing. So all of that, I think, is a project that is a part of the implementation, so that it's not just tag you're it, but ongoing. How are we constantly defining and achieving success?
For us at the Smarter Service, engagement means agency, which is really the ability to confidently use the tech to participate. And so we really focus on the training to turn anyone who's passive or confused or out of the loop in the education into an active digital user for their community. You mentioned some things in regards to innovation, and I want to get your standpoint because you've been doing this for a while. What innovation often goes missing or stalls out in the senior care industry? And what fundamental shift in thinking or investment is required in order to accelerate meaningful change?
I think, again, for me, Abbie, I don't want to be presumptive enough to think that what I'm going to share here with folks sort of defies reality. The reality of our industry is there's very complicated relationships between primarily sort of building owners, whether it's a REIT or individual, and operators. And then you have others like developers early on and so forth. And so I think if we start with that understanding and understand that an operator may recognize certain ROI benefits over time, but then maybe the agreement that they have doesn't allow them to make that investment risk because the benefit may go elsewhere. The benefit may go to the next operator, for instance. So I think understanding that for us, it turns out sort of regional family-owned owner-operators tend to be the best platform because wherever they invest, they benefit on the other side as well. So that's like a starting point to answer your question. I think overall, though, when you look at ROI, a lot of what I just shared might be soft ROI. So it really has to do with an innovation mindset, that you invest in that innovation and technology, which includes not just the technology, but more importantly, really the staff and the mindset and the cultural commitment to keep doing things with innovation. And then over time, you benefit from that strategically. So I think a lot of that has to do with where's the mindset of the CEO? Where's the mindset of the organization? What's the relationship between the operator and the owner, and who's paying for what and who benefits? And if you kind of throw all that in and mix it all up, then you find certain sweet spots that tend to keep doing the right things as it relates to technology and innovation, and others, in many cases, that talk about it quite a bit, but really don't invest. I mean, we all have anecdotes of, lots of awards and lots of implementation pilots, but they don't necessarily roll out the same way as we all would have liked. And I think that's an industry reality, not a challenge. It's just the way it is. And these are smart people, and they have to prioritize things. Like if you have 100% churn rate in your headcount, how are you going to train anyone to implement the greatest technology if chances are they're not going to be around? So those are the realities of what we're facing. So we have to make it super simple. I think you guys play a key role in that, to sort of offload that challenge and say, hey, if you go through the Smarter Service, we take care of the people challenge and the training challenge, which is huge because the training is ongoing. It's not like you can build an engagement platform and in 2 weeks, everyone's going to be on board and figure it out. So what's the first feature you want everybody to know? What's the second feature? How do you train people, and how is it efficient and fun and, ongoing? Suddenly you look back in a year and say, wow, everything's different.
Yes. And, one thing that is different in terms of your approach and what you've discussed is connecting the resident to the care continuum from the home to the hospital and back again, moving away from reactive care. And I've seen over and over again that you've talked about the high cost of sick care and how Independa is more about effective proactive wellness. Could you share that with us?
You bet. So early on, I bought a whole bunch of books when I started getting interesting. Back then, just to mention the age here, I actually went to, I think it was a B. Dalton, so there was like a brick and mortar. Maybe even though it was a Barnes and Noble, I think. Anyway, I bought like 20 books and looked at where there were opportunities and challenges in healthcare, and probably the most influential one was this guy, Christensen. Many people might know him, Innovator's Dilemma. It was Innovator's Prescription. And he really talked about how broken our sick care system is. And he proved it and showed it to me compellingly that to be successful, you really want to go at the edge, the outside edge of sick care and provide services that are dependent on sort of private pay and real ROI, and be able to not depend on necessarily billable Medicare dollars and so forth. So that was like a seminal moment for me and for Independa. And what we've done is really holistically look at the person the way their daughter would, or the way a senior living community would, which is how do I, like I talked about quickly in passing, operational efficiencies, but there's, you can have digital signage, you can have broadcast messages, you can have menus, community calendars, work orders, surveys, all sorts of other things around that to make operational efficiencies through engagement with that resident. Similarly, we essentially have like remote patient management. We don't call it that, or remote patient monitoring. We integrate with health devices, and you have thresholds and alerts to catch little things before they become big problems. If I catch a little thing before the person has to go to ER, before the person has to go to the next stage of care and move out, the value of that to the person and to the operator is huge. It's having the same platform that does that. For instance, in our platform, you can have access to a doctor 24/7 for second opinions, for emergencies, weekends, etc. So you can get on the phone, talk to a dentist, the TV or your mobile app or your computer, dentist, doctor, even a therapist. So why do we have that there? Again, to try to give you health and wellness the moment you need it, versus now you wait and maybe it's too late. Now you got to go to ER.
Yeah, wow. My mind is just buzzing, Kian. Thank you so much for laying that out and showing us how to move past any limitations of sick care. I know your grandparents are so proud of you and really grateful for the work that you've put into this and helping so many people. And for anyone who wants to get in contact with you and connect with you, what's the best way?
I put my email and my LinkedIn contact there. So if you guys could share that, there we go. That's awesome. Feel free. And I look forward to hearing from folks if we can be of any.
Yeah, thank you so much for your perspective and your innovation and your passion here. For those of you who joined us in the chat, we thank you for that. We love it when you participate. And for our sponsors, thank you so much, Leading Age Arizona. And we go live every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific time. And continue to join us. Bring your questions. Go make your tech easy. Automate your business and stop overcomplicating it. We'll see you back here next week. Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.